Welcome to this tutorial on how to navigate and complete the Single-Family Housing Section 502 Direct Worksheet for Computing Income and Maximum Loan Amount Calculator. This worksheet has been in use since January of 2017 and does not replace the eligibility summary in Unify or any other agency loan origination system. Updated versions may be released periodically, so always use the most current version available on the agency's website and SharePoint for agency staff. The worksheet helps loan originators and packagers organize applicant information and apply consistent income calculation methods. Embedded instructions throughout the worksheet guide you through the required inputs. The current version also incorporates Form RD 1944-61, Credit History Worksheet, and for staff convenience, staff may still use the eForms version or the Unified generated version instead. All information entered into the worksheet must be retained in the applicant file. Packagers and agency staff should store a copy along with the applicant's documents. The tool prints cleanly with defined page breaks, and agency staff may upload a PDF version or the original Excel file into ECF. The worksheet includes the main income calculation tab, a payment assistance and maximum loan calculator tab, a cosigner information tab, and a tab for Form RD 1944-61. Before we start entering anything, it helps to look at the print preview. This gives you a bird's eye view of how the whole worksheet is laid out. So here's a general flow. Page 1 is the introductory and summary information. Page 2 is the asset information. Page 3 is the applicant's income. Page 4 is the co-applicant's income. Pages 5 through 7 are income for adult household members or overflow income for the applicant or co-applicant. Page 8 is the max loan calculator information. Page 9 is the co-signer's income. And pages 10 through 12 are the credit history worksheet. This overview helps you understand how information is organized within the workbook. Now we'll exit the print preview and go back to page 1. You'll notice red triangles in various cells. If you hover over one, it will reveal the pop-up instructions. Take time to review these. They provide important guidance on completing the worksheet. Refer to them as needed until you are fully comfortable with this tool. The first 3 tabs contain many grayed out areas that cannot be edited. Only the white and orange cells are fillable. The tool is locked to maintain formula accuracy and formatting. You can navigate efficiently by tabbing through the fillable areas. At the bottom of the workbook are 4 main tabs: the Income Calculations tab, the Payment Assistance tab, the Cosigner tab, and the Credit History Worksheet tab. Data from the Income Calculations tab automatically feeds into the Max Loan tab, so it's always best to start with the income section first. Now that we've gone through a general overview, let's start entering some information. First, we begin with an application number, followed by the applicant's name, co-applicant's name, or any adult household members. Next to each name is a hyperlink. This hyperlink will take you down to that particular person's income information, where you'll be able to enter their income data. And then at the very top of each section, as they go to the top, that'll take you back to the top of the document. Next to the adult household member's name is a full-time student tab. And you can see here by hovering over the red triangle, it'll give you an explanation of that selection. So then in the drop-down, you can select yes or no as applicable for that adult household member. Some other things to note, here is the total section, which is going to show repayment and annual income, adjusted income, and then the monthly repayment income. This information will automatically populate as you complete the income sections of the worksheet. Next is the income summary, which is going to show repayment and annual income for both the applicant and co-applicant. And then you can see we do have an adult household member entered, and that person's name does not show up here. but we'll show you how to populate that a little bit further in the video. Next is the down payment required field. This will automatically populate as you complete the assets section of the document. You can see here that you've got assets. There's a hyperlink. This will take you to the asset section. And again, you've got to go to the top. That'll take you back to the top. And then next we get down into the income limits. You can see that these are not filled in yet. And we'll show you how to populate that data here in a second. And then again, the income category, that is again not filled in. That'll be populated as more information is completed on the worksheet. So we'll start with the household size. And we had 2 applicants and a household member, so we have 3 people in the household. Next, we'll select a state and then a county. So now you can see that we've entered a county that the income limits have populated now. So these are the income limits for that particular state and county. Again, the income category is not populated yet. That's because we have not completed any of the income portion for this application. Next is the expenses and deductions section. We've got childcare expenses, question about elderly, number of dependents, medical and disability expenses, and only the white boxes are fillable boxes or fillable fields. So just for an example, if we put in $2,400 for childcare expenses, you can see that deduction shows up over on the right-hand side of the box. And then again, as you hover over the red triangle, it's going to give you an explanation of each of those things and what that is. The elderly, if you check yes, it's going to show the elderly deduction of the $525. And then if there were any dependents in this case, if we just enter 1, it'll show that dependent deduction over on the right. And then the medical and disability expenses, again, hovering over the boxes will give you an explanation of what's all included in those so that you can add those into here to see if they do qualify for those deductions as well. Then finally, at the bottom of the page here, you'll see loan approval official or reviewer. This is where you'd enter that name and a date. If this was prepared by somebody other than that loan approval official or reviewer, that information would go here, and then whether or not you concur with the preparer's figures as a reviewer. Next, we'll move down to the asset section. In this first box, this is a net family non-retirement asset income, so like checking or savings accounts. Each of the white boxes, again, can be filled. The family member box does have a drop down, and it'll show whether it's the applicant, co-applicant, or household member. So we'll just select applicant in this example. Asset description, we'll put checking account. Then you've got market value and current cash value. So in this case, we're going to say they've got a market value of 20,000, and cash value we'll say is the same. Actual income derived from the asset, we're going to say that they get $100 in income from that asset. So in the bottom, you can see it's going to give you totals. And then it's also going to show that the assets that would be considered towards the down payment. So again, assets greater than 15,000 for non-elderly are going to be required for a down payment, and then 20,000 for elderly households. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. But as we scroll up here, back up to the top, you'll see that down payment requirement now is populated with that $5,000 because they are over that $15,000 threshold. And then we did add asset income and of the $100, so that is factored into the annual income up above. So now if we change this to the elderly and say that it's an elderly household, now you can see that down payment requirement went away because we only have 20,000 in assets, and they don't have over the 20,000. There's nothing over the 20,000 that would be considered for asset or for a down payment requirement. So now we'll go back and change that back. And then the next section below here would be any net family retirement assets. So again, there's a drop down. We'll choose the applicant, and we're just going to say retirement asset. Market value, and we're just going to say put in a value here. And then any actual income from that asset, again, add that money. And then again, as you can see, if we go back up to the top here, it's going to show that $200 in annual income, both from the checking account and then the retirement asset. And then down in the bottom, we would identify any any asset income that could be considered for repayment income. So on that checking account, I'm just going to plug in that $100 and say that yes, that could be considered for repayment income. And as we scroll back up to the top here, you can see now that that $100 shows up under the repayment income. So that will be added to the repayment income going forward. Then down towards the bottom of the asset section, here is an additional information and remarks section. This is where you'd provide any comments uh, or information regarding the assets, maybe how you calculated the income or where you got the income from the asset, just things that would be relevant to any reviewer with regard to completing that asset section. Scrolling down, we get to the applicant's income page. As you can see at the top of the page is the applicant's name, which is already pre-filled from the first page where we entered that information, as well as the application number is pre-filled as well. You can see all the different income calculation methods here. We'll go through a couple of examples just to show you how that works. And then you can see over on the right some application totals. Nothing is populated in here yet. That will populate once we enter the applicant's income calculations and actually select a method for which income calculation is the best representation for this particular applicant. It's very important that you complete all applicable income calculation methods for each person. And then, so now we'll go through and just kind of go through some examples here. You'll see white boxes that we can fill in with the income information. Over on the right-hand side, we've got some orange boxes, and as you hover over the triangle, this is where you'd select whether that is a income source that's best representative of repayment income, annual income, or both repayment and annual. So you'll select that for the appropriate income calculation. Something to note, you will only choose one income calculation method. So be sure you're only selecting one so it's not double counting the income. So here in an example, we are going to go through and just plug in some numbers just so you can see how this works. So we're going to say that the applicant makes $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, and 52 hours. So you can see that they come up with a total of $31,200. So this would be the straight base method. Let's say that they make just a monthly amount or a quarterly amount. You would use this next straight base method. In this case, we know they make hourly, so we're going to skip that straight base method. Next, we would go to historical. So you'd want to enter the year in the box at the top. And then what that historical income is. So in this example, we're just going to plug in some numbers here. And then the next is the year-to-date calculation. Over on the right, there's a date calculating tool. And this is going to calculate the number of days for you. So we're going to start always with the beginning of the year. This example, we'll use January 2026, and we'll go into the future and say that it went through August, and it's going to give you 237 days. So if we had a year-to-date income off of their pay stub, we would enter that information, and then you'll have to manually enter the days from the date calculating tool, and then that will give you an annual amount. Average amount, this would be each paycheck, you would enter the gross amount. So you'd enter however many paychecks you have and then divide that by that number of paychecks times 12 to come up with that number. So again, we've got income calculations here on this page, but again, nothing is showing up over in these applicant totals yet. So you're going to go through and you're going to select which is the best method for that income calculation. So in this case, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to select that the straight based is the best representation, and I'm going to select that for both. Now you can see that that information is populated over here in the applicant totals. So we've got repayment income, annual income, and then the monthly annual income. So if we go back up to the top, we can see now in our income totals, we've got the income information populated in the totals as well as in the income summary here. So we're going to go back down to the applicants. And then we're going to go down to the co-applicant. That would be the same thing. You would enter in that their income information, go through the calculations, as well as down to the adult household member. So in the adult household member, we entered the name up above on the first page. So we entered Jim Doe. You can see that his name doesn't automatically populate here. And the reason for that is we can use this section for other adult or for the adult household members, or if we select this drop down box, we could add additional income to the applicant or co-applicant. So in this case, if I selected the applicant, we could add that additional income, and then in the box you just have to type that name in the box. So whether it's adult household member, applicant, co-applicant, you still have to type their name in. But in this case, I want to type in Jim Doe, and then go back to the top and show you now that his information now does show up in this income summary. So it wasn't there before, but now it does because we're going to want to capture any annual income that Jim has. So go back down to the adult household member. So that just kind of gives us a summary of how the income calculation portion of the worksheet works. And you'll just go through, and again, all of the different red triangles are going to tell you what it is. And in this case, you can see labels may be modified. So if, for example, if Jim didn't have overtime, but he had bonus income, and we wanted to incorporate bonus income in there, you could change that name to reflect that. And in these sections as well, there is an additional information and remarks section. So for each person, so applicant, co-applicant, or the adult household member, any specific information you want a reviewer to be able to know, how you calculated something or how you came up with a number, you would want to document in this additional information and remarks section. So it's easy for a reviewer to understand how you came upon that income calculation, or simply what method you chose and why. Additionally, when entering the adult household member's income, it will only show as annual income and not repayment. So, for example, if we select both, we're going to see that it's only going to show up in annual income, not repayment income. And if we go back to the top of the page, you'll see that their income shows as annual and not repayment. But even by selecting both down below, it didn't show as both as well. So it won't allow you to make a mistake there. But you would want to select just the annual income portion of that. Now we'll take a look at a few other income calculation methods that show up on each of the worksheets that you would see. The first is going to be self-employed income. And in here, you'll be able to type a business name and then a business structure. So in the drop down, it's going to give you the different type of business structures that you can select from. And then you'll go through and enter the information off of the tax returns to come up with that 2-year average for the income calculation. We also have non-taxable income, so Social Security, disability, child support, that income information. The worksheet will automatically gross those up by the 120%. So in this example, let's say they get 300 a month times 12 months. You can see that that's going to automatically gross that up. Then you've got anything alimony, public assistance, pension, unemployment, a section for that, and then any other type of income that the applicant or co-applicant or even adult household member may have. You'd incorporate that into those sections as well. Now that we've got our income calculated, we'll go back to the top here and just kind of go through some of the information and the totals. It's capturing the repayment income, the annual income, and our adjusted income that was calculated. And now we have an income category of low based on the income that has been entered. So now we'll go over to the payment assistance max loan calculation tab and look at the information there. You can see that the applicant and co-applicant's name, the application number, that is all pre-populated from the first page, as well as the county and the income category. The area loan limit is populated based on our state and county that we selected. And then the next box here is a fillable box. This is the energy efficient selection. So you can select yes or no. Hovering over the red triangle gives you a information on that. So again, you can do the drop down to select yes or no. Stage, this is really more for the packaging side of things as to which phase of the packaging process it is in. Over to the right here, you can see taxes and insurance. Those are annual amounts. So if we just plug in some dollar amounts, you can see that the monthly figures factor in over there. Current housing payment, you can enter if they have a current housing payment as well. Over on the left are where you'd enter your monthly debts. So let's just say it's an auto loan for $200 a month, so that the monthly debts will show up. Income totals, this again is pre-populated from the income calculations page. So all the information that was entered on that first page is showing up over here. Down below, we'll have a max loan amount. So this is giving us, based on that income and the monthly debts, what their max loan would be as well. And the next section here is going to be the total debt and the PITI ratios. You can see that those ratios aren't populated yet. And the reason for that is we have to still enter some additional information down in this loan. So we're going to enter what we're currently working on, the current loan we're working on. We're going to enter that information. We'll just enter a rate and then our term. And then you can see now that we've started to enter that information, our max loan amount actually dropped. So the max loan amount based on what we've entered is only $112,196. So we're going to put that number in as that will be what populates our total debt ratios and our PITI ratios. If there's any subsequent loans, you'd enter that information as well. Same thing with leverage loans. Entering that information, and then the payment information and parameters on that leverage loan, any grants that would need to be included. And then now we've got payment shock calculated. Again, the payment shock definition is in the, if you hover over the red triangle, and give you the definition for that. And that's calculated based on putting that current housing payment in. Down below, we're going to have the two different options for payment assistance. So we'll talk about that. And then the lower section is just talking about, again, the monthly payment assistance and monthly installment. So it's kind of a summary of the max assistance and the loan calculation tab. Next would be our cosigner information, and cosigners must independently meet the eligibility standards. So this tab is going to calculate the cosigner's income and maximum loan amount. So again, a cosigner's total debt cannot exceed the 41%. The max loan amount is based solely on the cosigner's repayment ability, and the amount is imported into the applicant's max loan tab then. So be sure to read the on-page instructions when entering the cosigner information as well. And then the last tab, again, is a credit history worksheet. This is a fillable version that can be used on here, or as mentioned earlier, you can use the version out of Unify as well. So this concludes the session for the income worksheet. And once you begin working with the tool, make frequent use of the red triangle instruction boxes. The system is designed to be intuitive, promote consistency, and reduce error.